Right.
Amen.
All right. Sorry, I'm late. We are starting in Siman Shin Yud Gimel. And, yep.
One question we were sitting here talking before. If the chain in the tank of the toilet comes off, can you just hook it back on? Or on Shabbos again?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't believe so, no.
But what you can do,
I mean, it's part of the toilet, which is mechubel karka. And even though it's a very simple act, it's not a professional thing at all, but generally things that are mechubel karka are, even a simple act of connection is considered boina.
Rabbi,
Maybe it's not the oraisa because it's loose and it's very easy to remove. That I'm not sure.
But isn't it designed to work that way?
It's designed to work with. It's designed to remain connected. It's designed to remain connected. If it comes off, of course, you put it back. I mean, it's designed to be able to put it back if it comes off, but it's not designed to come off and on all the time.
Rabbi. So if he has one toilet, listen. I'm giving you a suggest. So one toilet. You hear that? You hear that? If you got one toilet, then maybe ask the rabbi if you can pull only by your hand like that without connected to flush the toilet.
You're asking him?
What?
Rabbi, you don't connect it. You just pick it up so the water going down. But
Yeah, why not? You can do that.
You can do that. Okay, but don't connect it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sometimes,
Okay, I think we're up to the Alter Rebbe Chaf. Does that sound right? I think we're up to the Alter Rebbe Chaf. We did already the Mechaber Vav yesterday. We're gonna do this one, Shin Yud Gimel Chaf.
Shin Yud Gimel.
Again, Siman Shin Yud Gimel, Lo Amud, Siman Shin Yud Gimel. Okay. Va'afilu b'kli shel prakim. בדיוק, לא, אתה בדרך. סימן שין י' ג' סעיף כ'. אפילו בכלי של פרקים. Even a keilim made from component parts. שין י' ג' סעיף כ'. בדיוק. אם תוקע פרקיו, דהיינו שיתקום בחזק. If you attached the component parts tightly, Binyan in such a way that you need strength and professional expertise. Binyan, this is considered Binyan. Chai mishum boina, and is chai because of boina. Im osul is kaim harbe, if it is made to last for a long time. If it's not made to last for a long time, it's a binyan harai, it's still considered a temporary building. What's midri soifrim, and it's also midrabanan.
What do you mean a temporary building?
Something that's not going to last for a very long time, but it's still going to last for some time.
Like the difference between an IKEA chest of drawers and a flimsy pop-up chest of drawers that you use made out of canvas.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know exactly how.
Or a tent.
I don't know exactly how Einay Osil Iskam Harbe means. I mean, over here we're not actually talking about tents just because tents have their own halachas in terms of oil, what's considered oil arai, what's considered oil kavua. That has its own categorizations and definitions. So I'm not going to compare it to a tent, but
what about like a sukkah, like a wood, everything from wood, house wood? You could take it apart, stuff like that. No, it's not considered that too. So it's a block cement. Or they take it apart.
I mean, what we're talking about here is not about binyan that's connected to the ground. We're talking about keilim. And we're saying that if you make a keilim in such a way that it's going to last for a considerable amount of time, you connect for example, we're talking about before, last time we're talking about connecting, let's say, the handle of a broom, with a broom. Screw it in or something. So if you do it tight, that could be a chiyuv chatas. If it is made to last for a long time. If it's made only to be temporary, doesn't say exactly what temporary is. Sometimes we see in Hilchos Shabbos 7 days is temporary, less than 7 days temporary. Not exactly sure. In terms of the actual building by sending the karka, so the 39 Malacha says temporary is something that does not have the strength to last for a long time. It's connected in a way that it's not going to hold up to last for a long time.
So I have a question about if you got a broom and you got the magaf, for the water, so both of them you have the matate, you can squeeze one time here, one time here. It doesn't last for a long time. So this doesn't count like a list for a long time.
That could be. Those things could be muktzah anyway because they're not really supposed to be used on Shabbos.
You don't clean the house on Shabbat?
The floors?
If it's
no.
Foot's dropped down or something,
Brooms?
No, he's talking about in Israel where they have the
Sponges?
sponge. You're talking about to make a sponge.
No, that's a broom.
A broom you can use.
You could use, but not the sponge.
You can't wash the floors on Shabbos.
You cannot wash.
Just use sponge?
What?
Not simple. It's a machlokes. Not simple. We're going to see in Shin Lamed Ches that there's a gzeira. It's machlokes, but most places can hold as a gzeira that you cannot wash floors because in earth floors, if you wash them, it's like fixing it, smoothing. So they made a gzeira to include even non-earth floors. And some say, well, nowadays the whole city has, nobody has earth floors anyway, so it's not even a problem. But most say that no, they made a gzeira and it's forbidden. Maybe a part of the floor, to wash a certain section, but not like the whole floor.
I give example about the broom and the mop, not to use the mop, but like consider like you.
So what we're going to see.
You remove it from one side to one side.
Let's finish. Let's finish this sif. The main house of this kamhara is a binyan arai. What's going to say from elem kin ene also lukim klal k'moshe bar, unless it's not made to last at all. Meaning to say, even something that's tight, but if it's not made to last at all, that's not going to be binyan. And the example of that we're going to see soon is right here. See, whoever came up with this idea should have patented it because it's a great idea to make, like the screw lines in a bottle cap and then the bottle. You can screw it and you can mamish do it tight. Not also on Shabbos. You can open, you can close.
Why isn't that meant to open?
It is meant to open.
Why isn't that meant to be closed for a while?
It's not. What do you mean?
You're going to drink it.
The bottle is meant to open and close all the time, whenever you need it.
You can drink it all the time, right, Rabbi?
Anything that is made to open and close on a constant basis is not considered even binyan arai. Rather, it's considered derech shimusha. That's the way you use it. So I did see a svara. Just coming back to your toilet question, which is it's only one of many sniffim that Reb Shlomo Zalman gives to be lenient, but it might apply a little bit in your case. This is in the Shmir Shabbos in one of the notes. Reb Shlomo Zalman says that in his opinion, it's permitted to plunge a toilet on Shabbos. Now, this is a question because in Siman Shin Lamed Vav, I believe it's Shin Lamed Vav, it talks about not being allowed to clear a gutter that is clogged.
From the leaves.
Exactly, not being allowed to clear a gutter that's clogged on Shabbos.
What?
With anything.
With anything except kilachayad. No.
With water?
I mean, in the context, it's talking about a gutter that's like clogged to the extent that no water is going through. So that's like it's demolished, so to speak. It's ruined, and clearing it is like boina.
Rabbi, you're allowed to take also with the water. Let's say with the gutter, they're going to the grass. You cannot, right?
That's another issue. I'm not talking about that issue. I'm talking about the issue of clearing the gutter. It could be, the truth is, it could be that if you could clear it with water, that it's not considered blocked, because the whole point is that water's not getting through. So anyway, but there it says the only way you're allowed to do it, you are allowed to do it if it's going to cause a hefsid meruba. In other words, let's say it's alongside your house or alongside your garage or whatever, and if it's going to overflow, it's going to overflow into your house, into your garage, going to flood your stuff. So in the case of a hefsid, it says there, you're allowed to step on it in such a way that you dislodge whatever it is.
Better up?
Yeah, whatever, however you get up there, I don't know. Or maybe it's a little gutter along the side of your house, like a drain system along the side of your house.
Okay.
Whatever it is, you can step on it and remove the blockage, kala'achar yad, to prevent that financial loss.
Have you step on something?
I mean, you step on it. In other words, the way you're removing it is kala'achar yad. It's an unusual way to remove it. You're not moving using the back of your hand, obviously, but the way you're moving it is an unusual way. For example, by stepping on it. So that's what it says. So from there we see
Stepping and sliding the foot.
Yeah. Or walking in it, like knocking it as you walk in it or something like that.
What's the issue with plunging?
So the issue is that there we see that when you're removing a block from a gutter, if you don't do it in an unusual way, and even that's only mutter in a case of a hefsid. Otherwise, it would be considered like you're building. So what's the heter to plunge a toilet? So Shlomo Zalman gives various reasons to be matter for a toilet. First of all, he says that the what's there is not really part of the pipe. It's like you have a straw and you're sucking with the straw and something gets stuck in it. It's like a temporary thing. Like you have a baby's bottle, and something gets stuck in the nipple. I mean, you're fixing something, you're making something. No, it's just you're cleaning it out. It's not considered permanently there. And another possible reason to be lenient, he says, is that since it happens all the time, I mean, it depends on the house, but since it happens all the time, so maybe that's considered just the way you use the toilet. You use the toilet sometimes by flushing it, sometimes by plunging it. It's not an unusual occurrence.
I don't know if that's true. I'm saying like no one plunges the toilet. Very, very.
Depends on the house, depends on the toilet, depends on the...
Who usually plunges that has something wrong with the toilet?
Exactly.
That's not a normal occurrence.
It
When you have
depends.
5-6 kids,
Yeah, I mean, it depends. It depends on the person.
When you have the 2 babies, they don't go to the toilet, you don't plunge it.
It depends. He says it as if it's
You will
normal.
find toys in the
Could be in his time, in his place it was, but it could be, that's what he says. But it could be that now for most people it's not, maybe for some people it is, whatever. It's an argument that he makes. And I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe in a case a person who has a toilet that's always needing to be, that chain is always coming off and he's always putting it on. Maybe. But even so, this heter is not a simple heter. And not everybody agrees with it.
And that's a derisive.
So
What's exer? What's exer?
Exer to not clean not push out the.
Why do you say it's exer?
You said it's a derabon.
Who says it's a derabon? Why do you say that?
Or would you to clean out your gutter
Pashas Sinis or Deraisa.
Clean out your gutter?
Yeah. If it's
Oh, you
if,
think that's
it's boina.
clean, though.
It's boina again. Anything connected to the ground, boina doesn't have to be professional. Doesn't have to be super special. I mean, we are talking about a situation where the gutter is properly blocked, so nothing's getting through. But yeah,
What was the first reason that I gave? Not because it's used to doing that to the toilet?
because it's not considered to be
Part of it.
Part
So
of it.
What if it's clogged with things that are supposed to be in the gutter?
that are what? Sorry.
What if it's clogged with things that are not supposed to be in the gutter?
So that's not part of it. In other words, exactly. He asked that question actually. So he says that it's a chiddush, but he says that because the gutter is floor level, his pshat in that sugya is that it is floor level, either the floor or the roof, but not like a gutter that's going down. So therefore, when it becomes stuffed up, it becomes like the ground itself. It becomes almost like tuffle to the ground itself. So it becomes like the ground. Instead of having the geder of a gutter, it becomes like the ground. It's a chiddush. Because his heter would seem to apply to a gutter. It's just a blockage. It's not part of it.
It's not the gutter.
Exactly. But because it becomes equal to the ground, that's why it becomes part of the ground. That's his chiddush. That's a big chiddush, by the way. Not everybody agrees with it. Rabbi Vadia says it's not permissible to plunge a toilet. Not to plunge a toilet.
Plunge a toilet is not permissible.
Plunge a toilet, correct. Yeah. The truth is, of Shlomo Zalman's is a chiddush, that it's mutter. But if you compare it to the gutter, it seems pashut that it's awesome.
What about plunging a sink? Same thing?
Same thing.
How would we hold?
So the issue of making a kli?
It's not a kli, it's mechubel the karka. That's why I'm more strict with it. When it comes to anything mechubel the karka, boina, exactly.
You're putting what? You're putting a sink?
You're boina a pipe. You're fixing a pipe. There is, I sent this out in the hand I read before I left the house.
So you don't allow you allow it or you don't allow it? The thing in the toilet.
Chele keilim and lamed gimel. I looked it up in Yehimer.
What happens if you have like 3 bathrooms? So can you just close one and then you do it instead of the night?
Yeah, of course. You don't need a heter for that.
Not shut up.
No, I'm just saying.
The question is, are you still allowed to plunge the one that's plugged?
Machlokes.
Okay.
You like only this one. You like only this one, right?
It's machlokes if you're allowed
You
to
want to
plunge
plug.
it or
You
not.
like only this.
If you have an option.
First,
If you have an option, I have 3 bathrooms. So you close this one and you...
Rabbi, it's the same.
Maybe it's better to be machmer.
Rabbi.
Because some are machmer. If you have an option, it's probably better to be machmer. Better to be machmer because it's a serious shaila.
Rabbi, he's going to Komash Lishit.
Sorry?
Because there might be another option to use the restroom somewhere else, so you're okay to plunge the toilet there.
No.
What was he saying?
No. Saying to be strict. To be strict. If you have another toilet,
He's
Then you
Komash
should be
Lishit.
machmer.
The lenient opinion of you're allowed to plunge. It's only if you need that bathroom.
the truth is, I think Shlomo Zalman says that it's because it's a shas adchak. Even though it's a chiddush, it's svara, but because it's a shas adchak, that's why he's matter. So if it's not a shas adchak, it's probably better to be machmir, even if it's Shlomo.
What's the more that it's
About the
toilet?
plumbing's not in Shulchan Aruch. They didn't have toilets then.
Right.
The thing in Shulchan Aruch is in Shin Lamed Vav, I believe it is, about not stepping on a gutter. Let me see if I have
So
it
if
here.
the
One
toilet
second.
is
I
Komash
need to look it up.
and the one in the Komash Shona, it's black.
Shniya, like I
And
said.
you have the guest, everything is
Shniya, like I said. Shin Lamed Vav. Yeah. Sorry?
If the toilet Komash Shona plug and Komash Shniya not, but you got guest.
I'm not going to be the one to give a psak between Shlomo Zalman and Rabbi Vadia.
He said if
As
it's
a
plug,
law makom
if you
shali,
wanna-
aval,
You were saying.
יש מקום להתיר בשעת הדחק. מחלוקת, אבל יש מקום להתיר בשעת הדחק. But,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I don't understand the difference between just flushing the toilet and plunging the toilet. Both of them, it's the same mechanism. Like whatever you put in there, even if the toilet's not stuffed, is still staying there because because the P trap goes up. So the water's not going to go through unless it's pushed with force. So you push the thing and the water comes down with a lot of force. It's the same thing as the plunger.
But that's the normal way of it working. Whereas if it's blocked, then it's not working. And to make something not working is different. Is that right?
Exactly. When you flush the toilet, you're just using the toilet. You're not fixing the toilet. It's not broken.
And that's why Rav Moshe says that if you plunge it usually, then it's not a problem.
Exactly. That makes it the way to use it.
So if every time you use the toilet, you use the plunger, that everybody would agree that there's no problem. That's just how it works.
It would seem, yeah.
In a private home, if you have 3 bathrooms, if one gets blocked, the chances are the other get blocked because it's one line and everything backs up.
No, it's all the pain. You find also wherever the toilet is reaching to the big pipe is plugged right there, that one it can go through.
It depends. In my house, there.
Independent. I've been there.
One blocks the other block.
Okay, it depends.
But as you use the other,
right,
everything gets jammed up.
I hear you.
It's all depends where it's plugged. I find someone plugged here before reaching.
Oh,
and the other one working all day long.
That's an important point. Shlomo Zalman adds that if it's only partially clogged, so the water is able to get through a little bit, so then it's not forbidden because it's simply not considered a real ticket. It's not really blocked fully, so it's not like a broken pipe, so to speak, and therefore it's not.
So if the toilet.
And what's the issue with a snake?
Stuffage does go down over time. You'll have to.
1 second. I think we just said it was only partially clogged and some water can get through.
Going down.
Yeah, if some water can get through, that's correct. It's not about 1 or 2 plunges. It's about if some water can get through or not.
Yes,
then it's
or any
more-
toilet, plugged, not plugged. If it's plugged to me, it's the water going down. Little bit, and then you don't see your flush is going up, and then after a while it's going down and it's stuck. All the time it's going down.
That's right. It never stays that full.
Yes, if you stay full, you come outside the backyard. So it's not plugged.
So you're saying it should always be water.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can't use the toilet in that condition.
No, but then you
No,
get
no.
that.
If
Plunge it.
you see, you're the rabbi. If it's not plugged, it's not plugged.
If it's not completely blocked.
Yeah, and no toilet is plugged completely because you can see a flush going up and then it's going down until it stops.
Very slow.
Yes, and then you flush again, and then go up again, right? So
I hear the argument.
So
It depends on the construction. Because some of it will go into the shower, your bathtub.
also in the shower going down too, little bit.
Okay. All right, my friends, let us continue. Gotta find the right window. Here we are, 313. Okay, Lefikach, Chaf Aleph, 21 Gal Rebbe, Lefikach, Kol Kli Shel Prokam Shnisparik. Any Kli made of components that came apart. Asr Chacham Lachzir b'Shabbos. The Chachamim forbade putting it back together on Shabbos. Afilu ena mahadka ela ma'at binyan shu rafi ena rafi. Even if you only tighten it a little bit, in such a way that it's only a little bit tight, because you may do it tight. One second, very simple example. You're talking about a broom before. So let's say the broom handle and the thing came off. I'm not talking about one that is normal to come off, actually. One that you take off, and you go back and forth between.
You can do that.
That's not binyan. That's not binyan. That's not even arai. If that's the way you use it, you go back and forth. That's not binyan. I'm talking about one that stays in the whole time. But sometimes it comes out, and you put it back, And if you put it back tight, that's a big problem.
Yeah.
If you put it back loose, so then it's not the eraisa, but you shouldn't do it because you may tighten it. So therefore, you shouldn't do it, even if it's roughly the ene roughly. Even if it's, he doesn't say it's completely loose, even though it's not very tight. If you leave it totally loose, it's mutter. As long as that's the way to leave it. But if it's normal to tighten it, even if now you leave it loose, it's forbidden because you may tighten it. The koshel prakam, we mentioned this yesterday, a cup that is made of pieces. Since even though it's normal to tighten it a little bit, you're allowed to do that. And we're not afraid that you might tighten it a lot. It's not normal to ever tighten this cup very much, to the extent that you would be chayiv for boina. According to this opinion, anything that you never do tight, you would be allowed to do loose because we're not going to make exer. You're going to do it tight because you never do it tight. Yes. Does this
mean that anything that you typically put together before you use and take apart immediately after use is not problematic?
For example, give me an example.
So there's a kind of corkscrew that comes in a box, and I know two people who will take it out, and you put the little worm in that goes into the cork. So they'll assemble it, and then they'll uncork their wine, and then they'll take the part off and put it back.
Interesting. Well, that's what he's asking. Is that an issue? When you the corkscrews that not a cork, the corkscrew itself is made. He's talking about the corkscrew itself, which is made of different pieces, and you put it together, and then you use it to take out the cork. So you're talking about the metal piece. The metal piece.
Yes, that.
It's already together.
He's talking about if you can put it together. Is it tight? Must be tight.
It's relatively tight, yes. But what about I guess you don't. Does this apply to Yom Tov as well?
Sure.
So what about a pressure cooker? Once a pressure cooker's got pressure in it, you can't open it. It's the definition of tight. Once you finish cooking, you'll open it. But while it's cooking, it's impossible to open.
No, that's not an issue.
Why?
Because that's the way you use the pot. That's the way you cook with the pot. Here, the way you use the corkscrew is by uncorking the bottle. But before you use it, you put it together by putting it together. See, that's the difference we were discussing yesterday, that the poskim say that you could be lenient and allow kids to play with Lego and that sort of thing on Shabbos, because some opinions allow it even for adults, and it can be lenient for kids. Why do they allow it? Because they say that's considered using it, not building. In other words, the way when they put it together, they're playing with it, right? They're using they're not fixing it, they're not making something, they're using it to play. You understand? So that's not considered a building, but a usage of it. So that would be the argument with the pressure cooker. When you're cooking with it, that's the way you use it. And, it becomes tight. Take it off, you serve the food. That's all part of their ordinary usage. But the usage of the corkscrew is to open the cork, to remove the cork. Before you use it, you put it together for use, just like the beds that the people would transport from place to place and would put it together and take it apart, even if they took it apart once every day. Nevertheless, the usage of it was not the taking it apart and putting it together. The usage was the sleeping. So that it seems to me that the question of the corkscrew hinges on whether it's considered tight, and if it's considered tight, it would be a problem. If it's not, there's room for leniency, just like here, that something that is not usually tightened, you can do loose. Something that's tightened, you can't do even loose because you may tighten it. Something that's usually loose, some say you can do it loose because we're not afraid you're going to do it tight. That would seem to be what it hinges on. But I don't know. We would have to get it in here and do an experiment and see. Okay.
Wait, quick question. Is there a difference between regular Legos and like Lego Technic, which has like little plastic sprockets? And
what would the difference be?
I don't know. It's more of like a mechanism thing where you put together, you move one thing and then it starts moving. It sets a chain reaction. I don't know. Is there a difference?
Chain reaction, but all mechanical, all just connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. The only thing is that if you're building something out of Lego with the intention of keeping it, like you go to Legoland and they have these towers made out of Lego and cars and all of that, that would seem to be Binyan Midaraisa if you're planning to keep it. So, but normal Lego sets, which are taken apart and put together, that's where the argument is that it's just a usage. And some say, there is no difference between a cup and another keilim. You're only allowed to put it together if you leave it completely loose. We should be strict like their opinions, unless a case of great need. Then you can be lenient if it's not usual to tighten the cup very much. The cups that are made with grooves, meaning to say that you screw them. Again, we're still talking about the cups that are take them apart, you put it back together. So any cup that you screw it back together, so that's a problem for sure, because definitely when you screw something on, it's tight. And when you would screw it on even loosely, it would be forbidden because you may do it tight. So again, we don't really have that sort of cup. The collapsible cups people have nowadays remain connected all the time, and therefore they're mutter to put together and take apart. Like we said yesterday, they're considered to be just one thing all along, and therefore it's never really building it, like unfolding or folding a table and so on. So now we come to the bottle cast that we discussed earlier. When it comes to the covers of keilim with concentric grooves, which in Yiddish is called shroif, he translates here as screw threads. Even though you can tighten it very much, so this is not forbidden at all. Not by removing them because of stira, nor by putting them back because of binyan. Because they're not made to keep them for kiyum at all. Rather to open them and close them constantly. Gam b'Shabbos atzmi and Shabbos itself. Well, they also binyan harav tirasai, and they only forbade the building and taken apart in a temporary way, unless it's not made for demolishing on Shabbos itself, which is what like will be explained in Shin Yadal. So binyan arai is also, but a binyan that is completely arai, that is totally has no lasting power, that's made to even take apart on Shabbos itself, that's not any kind of binyan, and that's permissible. And that's the reason for the heter of the bottle caps.
Bottle caps, if it's coming from public site,
Sealed.
Yeah.
and you want to drink on Shabbat, you're allowed?
Talking about the ring, breaking open the ring, that's a big machlokes. We're going to learn about it in the next Siman.
Next Siman?
Yeah. It has to do with the whole question of keilim and opening up, new openings.
Some keilim it's okay.
Yeah, especially with the plastic ones.
Plastic and
Not the metal one.
The metal ones of Shlomo Zalman is
What's
not
the metal one? The can?
like some of the vodka bottles have like it's like a metal piece that goes all the way up, and then you unscrew it, and
Like the Smirnoff ones?
I don't know which ones.
The
it is.
wine, the wine,
It's like
the wine,
it's
the
like a
wine.
cap, Just it's made out of tin or metal.
It's the
Right.
wine is the
I don't think it's about the metal per se or the plastic per se. It's about the ones that they have the metal that goes all the way up, and then it has you know what I'm saying?
the wine.
I
Robert, the
read
wine.
that the difference is because the plastic was cut before that, and the metal, because of the production, it's like it's impressed to the bottle, so it wasn't cut before. It's only now when you open it, you make it cut. You create the cream, and the plastic it wasn't cut before. Just open it.
I have to look at that. I thought it was because the metal is not a kli because it's part of the whole neck of the bottle has a big metal thing all the way up there, and the top is obviously a little bit disconnected. And when you open that's when it becomes a kli. In other words, if it's the same as this, and it just has a little ring around it, it's more or less already a cap, and you're just breaking it up. But when it's connected to the whole neck of the bottle, you know what I'm saying? That's when it's not yet a kli until you. That's the way I understood it.
Question about your previous question.
Yeah.
About the broom. Person has a broom with a stick inside, technically come out, and he has another couple of brooms with sticks inside. Happens to be that one of them broke, but I'm not moving them. Now, I don't have like 3 or 4 options for brooms, and I have one stick. So whichever broom I'm going to use, I take that one out with the stick inside. It's always a stick with a broom, a stick with a broom, a stick with a broom. Happens to be one of them. Didn't work well. I want to take this stick out and put it in another broom.
And it's not something you do all the time. It's for sure awesome. For sure awesome.
But if it is something I do all the time, because I have 5 different types of broom, but one stick that I like to use,
Yeah.
then it would be allowed.
Yeah. Something you do all the time, then it's allowed. Because it has no key.
Personal.
So it would seem. Because it's about.
It's probably not the norm to take out broomsticks out of.
Right. But the mice, it's not even a binyan arai. He says anything that's made to open and close constantly is not a binyan arai.
But I don't know if they're made to open and close constantly. They're not made to open and close constantly. They're just made to.
You're saying maybe we go by everybody else, not by you individually. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know about anybody else. I've never switched my broomstick with another unless I
switch couple times, 2-3 times.
2-3 times is not what I'm talking about.
Because some broom I like, some broom I don't. So
I'm not talking about
a
it.
day or 2-3 times in your life.
It's not. Yeah. It's not 2 or 3 times. It's all the time. It's every time you use it. That's the point.
What would be a good example of that?
I give you an example.
I guess like a mixer. Like you have different utensils to mix with. It's always different.
You can use the mop on the side in the closet, and you can change it one time, and then it's for you. You change whatever you need, and you use the broom more than the mop. Right, Rabbi? Then you can use that. מקל? Use it. It's only Shabbat. It's the easy way. 22 רבי
I left my phone in the car, but I'll get it. If you have one more, I'll get it and I'll text Alchamar. David Leib. He's here. He's on the computer. David Leib, can you come from Meyer if you're number 10?
Hi. No, I can't come.
Yeah, come. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that? Where's Michael? Is he in town?
Yeah, the Coke bottles, most places come on Makel, but the soda cans are a big problem.
Soda can?
Big problem. Not according to Bavaria. Don't get nervous.
And Bavaria is okay?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Oh, Hashem.
Oh, Joseph may be able to come from Meyer. Wow.
So bring another one. We're missing two.
What brother do you make on the robot?
What do you mean?
Or Matthias or
Yeah. I hear.
You can bring two? You bring another one? From Mari?
Yes, I'll be happy if he
I'm going to
comes.
bring the third brother-in-law. We'll have two of them here.
Oh,
The third one lives around the corner, actually.
very good.
If somebody wants to sponsor a ticket, I'm more than happy to make a minion.
I'm afraid it'll be Shachris by the time you get here. Maybe Shachris, maybe Mincha. Okay. So, do we go by the individual or by the klal? My assumption is you go with the individual, because the whole point is to say that is it considered binyan or not? Is it kavua? Is it arai? Or is it super arai? So my thought would be it goes by him personally, because if it's arai or super arai, that's the thing. But I mean, in some other halachas, we say no. If for the average person this is considered kavua, then you have to be strict. I'm not 100% sure.
I had an interesting conversation with Diane Ruskin on Sunday. There was a chasna, and he was there.
Okay.
This is a little bit off topic, but it goes back to brachas that we were learning.
Uh-huh.
The first course was a fruit course, and it was after washing. So I was talking to him about do we necessarily say a bracha on the fruit if it's an appetizer?
Right.
And I recall you saying something about the chef deciding whether it's an appetizer or not.
Right.
And he said, well, we've got to be a little bit more objective than that. And it's not so much a personal thing. Sweet is always sweet fruits. It was melon and possibly pineapple. He said sweet fruit is always something that you make a bracha on. If it were grapefruit, if it was sour grapefruit or something sour, then you'd be able to consider it an appetizer. But being sweet, that's the objective test. It's not a personal thing. So I just thought I would relate what he said.
I'm not. I'm not. I hear what he's saying about objective, but who said sweet is what is objectively not a non-appetizer? Maybe
So he said
other objective ways. Who said that sweet is not? I don't know.
I didn't ask him who said that, but he did say he seemed quite adamant that is to finish your appetite. It's a finisher, and it suppresses appetite. It doesn't wet it, whereas sour wets it. I'm not sure what his source was for that, and I should have asked him, but I didn't.
I don't know. It's a machlikas, but I don't think you do. Sofer brachas halakha.
But I don't have to show you.
I mean, it's not there. At the end of the meal, it's not an appetizer anymore.
That is a dessert. It's a dessert spot. What should you mean about this?
Yeah.
Even over here now, it's like you're eating with bread. You're eating it as it is. It's like a sort of dessert, not a dessert. But I'm saying it's an appetizer.
No, it's an appetizer, then it helps you eat. Helps you eat. You understand? It's helping you eat the rest of the food. I mean, I'm not making it up. It's all discussed in the Rishonim. It's not like the Rishonim. I think the Rosh says you don't. I'm not mistaken. Something like that. So, the point is, the Alter Rebbe continues. Oh yeah, an interesting thing when we were learning this in keilim many years ago. So one of the guys said an argument, which I never really resolved, even though here it's mashma that it's okay. But he said, this is a good explanation for bottles like this. But what about salt shakers? Salt shakers that have also, ridges that you screw on. How often do you open a salt shaker? I mean, once a month. I mean, how often do you run out of salt?
6 months.
Whatever it is, a long time. So he wanted to say it's not a suyin, the Paishan L'Segam Taner.
It's not. Definitely not.
So,
a bottle of a drink, you're saying, is meant to be open and closed because people wave the bottle.
right,
The way of that is to
leave it there for a long time.
it comes out without having to become twisted. The shaking of it gets it out. So you
Right.
need to
So you
touch
just to
the
refill
part
it,
on
just
the-
to refill it, not to take out, but just to refill. Right. So, and for many years I didn't know, if it's allowed or not, but I did come across in the Dirshu Shulchan Aruch that he mentions it like on the side, quoting Shlomo Zalman, that it's allowed.
Salt shaker?
Yep.
Can you read it inside?
Yep. Give me a second.
Talking about the refill in Shabbat, this is the issue.
Exactly. To unscrew it and refill it and screw it back, that's the issue. The filling is, of course, just,
Even if you're making it tight.
obviously you're making it tight. That's the way it is when it's
What else is there? Salty.
So usually it's not like this, like bottle of this kind of kind, like a bottle because it's in the bottom. You have some plastic.
Oh, that's another way. No, that would be a lot easier. No,
Not
whatever.
like this.
No, mine isn't. I just bought recently, like literally a couple weeks ago. Twist the top off. Like this. That.
They also
You're talking about like this.
The piece in the oil, the oil is screw up.
Yeah, it's not. Just like a one.
They also have some you push it in and you pull it out.
From the back, or the bottom place, not from the top.
Either from the bottom or the top, where the holes are sometimes. Piece of metal comes out with plastic.
It's taking that holes.
Those are a pain to take out.
In the restaurant business, they have holes in the bottom, right?
No box.
Oh,
I understand it's the metal, like
oh, really?
it's big and then it's like a cone. But that's the metal that is glass, the metal is
קצת. זוכר היה לי איזה, ככה עם פפר. אז זה בטוח עשו. זה גריינד.
גם זה מה שאמרתי.
Okay, here's what it is. Here's what it is. It's a machlekes, the Chazon Ish and Shlomo Zalman, about the getter of this heter. The getter of this heter of the screw top bottles. Each of them give a different getter for the heter. I don't know why they're not happy to just say it's opened and closed constantly. They say different getter. Chazon Ish says that since it's impossible to use the keilim without opening it, closing it, it's impossible. So therefore, it's not considered a binyan of the keilim because you can't use it otherwise.
It's not a keilim.
There's no way to use it otherwise. So therefore, it becomes that's not binyan. Shlomo Zalman says no. Shlomo Zalman says the reason is that when you take off the bottle, nobody considers it a destroyed keilim. That's still a keilim. So when you put it back, you're not making a keilim, not destroying a keilim. It's considered a complete keilim regardless. And Rav Shlomo Zalman says that according to the Chazon Ish, you shouldn't be allowed to take off the cover of a salt shaker. Because according to him, it's only if you can't use it. But with the salt shaker, when you can use it without taking it off, it should be aser. According to me, I understand that it's mutter, because when you take off the top of the salt shaker, there's nothing wrong with the salt shaker. It's not a broken salt shaker. Whatever. It's just it's missing the cover. You put the cover back on. It's not. People don't consider it a broken keilim. So that's his chiddush. Which in the Alter Rebbe, you don't see anything like that. You just see you open and close constantly or not. He's adding in this other ingredient about it being considered a proper keilim without the top of it. So at least he holds that it's mutter for that reason. In the Alter Rebbe, it's not clear. But that's an interesting thing to know. At least according to Shlomo Zalman, it's okay.
Does that mean that anything that you don't open frequently, your grandmother's photos that you found upstairs in a cookie jar, the cookie jar can't be opened because it hasn't been opened for 3 years? It's a normal thing to open a jar. That's what you do with a jar.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's because it's a normal thing, so that's why it's mutter. With a salt shaker, it's not a normal thing to do it on a constant basis. But but something that
you do it more often than you open your grandmother's cookie jar with photos in it.
I understand, but the cookie jars are made to open and close.
So are salt shakers.
Yeah, but not constantly. That's not the intention.
I guess it depends on what you use salt shaker. If you run a business, you have a salt shaker and the chef is using it and he fills it every 2 days.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen on Shabbos anyway. I mean, that salt shaker is going to be...
I have an issue with that. The soft drink bottle is might have been sitting, or I might have a soft drink bottle that's been sitting in my cupboard for a year. You can't say that that's used to being opened. You open it because that's what you need to do.
It's made for opening and closing constantly. Of course, until you start using it, you're not using it. But it's made to the purpose of it is that you should be opening it. They want you when they make it. They want you to use it and buy another one right away.
So then you just open it once and you never close it up again.
The point is that it's not. The fact that you didn't choose to open it when you bought it doesn't mean that it was made to keep closed. It was made to open and close. Okay.
And wait, there's no problem with opening the salt shaker. It's closing the salt shaker. Is that right?
I don't think there's a problem with opening it, actually. I don't think there's a problem with opening it. Joe's asking us a problem that he'd have in mind already. It's not a problem, but you're not number 10 as of now. You're still only number 9. It would feel bad to make you schlep out here if you don't even have a minute. I could text him.
Okay.
I forget my phone. Where do you live with? Is it an area? Okay, let me text Elchanan.
We should people I don't have anybody's number, but if someone wants to just text the people who we have, feel bad.
So the bottom line is that we can use the open and closed salt shakers, but there are various.
No, I didn't say you can't. I said if Shlomo Zalman said you can, and it's not clear from the Alter Rebbe that you can't. I'm not saying you can't. I'm just saying it's something to think about. It's food for thought. Give me a second, please.
Anytime we're like friends, to bring 5 friends at least, every class. I brought 5, 6 people to the
Where's
shul.
your,
Every single one of them. Everyone for a different reason also.
Of course.
One moved, one started college.
Went to the college again.
well, play basketball.
You know, he was doing classes online that were on the karka like 8 to 10.
You pay attention, huh? You pay attention. I was kidding.
What was the difference between plastic and metal bottle caps?
The rabbi will be in a second, but I think the plastic it's less mahmir.
I think the issue is that what I've heard is that a plastic bottle cap used to be a bottle cap before, and it was just put on, whereas metal bottle caps were flat pieces of metal, and what they do is they crimp it on. They it's squished on, and it was never a keilim before. And when you open it for the first time, the bottle cap becomes a keilim. That's what I learned a while ago, but I'm sure we'll learn the real reason soon.
That's the difference between the plastic and the metal.
What, sorry, Yossi?
Oh, someone was asking about metal bottle caps. I was saying what I learned a while ago. The problem with the metal bottle cap is that the cap itself becomes a keilim. Because it wasn't before. It was a flat sheet of metal before.
Oh, is that what you heard?
That's what I heard. Is that it is unlike a plastic bottle cap, which is made as a bottle cap and affixed. The metal bottle cap is crimped on and wasn't previously a keilim. When you open it, it becomes a keilim for the first time.
I hear you. What if I was saying the same thing? It could be. Could be. We're going to get to that hopefully next week. Okay. I want to continue in number 22. All cleat metal This is a very important halacha. You're asking about unscrewing a salt shaker. According to this, it's allowed. Any kli out there says, a salt shaker, opening it, melchiyah, exactly. Any kli made of parts that is tight in a way that you would be chayiv for putting it together, it's forbidden to take apart, and if you would take it apart, it would be soiser. But if it's not tight, and it's a little bit tight, and you wouldn't be allowed to do it on Shabbos because you might make it tight, well, you are allowed to unscrew it on Shabbos because there's no gzeira. In other words, you're not allowed to make something a little bit tight because you might make it very tight. But if it is a little bit tight, you're allowed to take it apart because if it's apart, you understand. We mentioned this yesterday. We make a decree that you can't do something because this very situation might lead to doing something wrong. But we're not making a decree, don't do this because in a different situation you might do something wrong. Understand? So we're not going to say, well, don't unscrew this because you might unscrew something else later that is tight. That we're not saying. We're saying don't screw this loose because you might screw it tight. But if something that is screwed loose, you can unscrew it because there's nothing, from unscrewing this, nothing back can come. There's no gzeira to make. You understand? So that's why even if you wouldn't be allowed to screw a salt shaker, to unscrew it would seem is okay.
But that salt shaker you cannot screw together really tight. You have to leave it somewhat loose so you can.
Again, according to Shlomo Zalman, he says that you're allowed to, because he understands that the salt shaker is considered a kli even without that top to it, and therefore it's not considered building when you put the top on. It's just considered the way you use it. So again, but according to it's possible that according to Alter Rebbe's reasoning, that he gives of the bottle caps being open and closed constantly, it's possible that it's forbidden just because it's not constant. I'm not saying that as a psak. I'm just saying that as a question. Okay, back to the Mechaber Zayin. Shin Yud Gimel Zayin in the Mechaber. Karka shenishbara. Karka shenishbara. If a beam broke, mutter l'semcha ba'aruchei samita shem keilim. You are allowed to support it with a bed frame, which is a keli. Lo kedei shetala, not in order to lift up the house. You can have the boina, that would be boina. But just that it should not continue to sag and fall. That's only if it's loose. You can still take it out. But if it's going to become, but if it's tight there, it's forbidden. Okay, Nebuch, this is how they lived in the olden days. You had a beam in your roof. It split. What do? You want to evacuate the house. You take your bed frame and you put it under the roof beam to hold it up. Shin Yud Gimel.
It's the foot.
Zayin. Okay? Like a support, exactly. Exactly. So now here are the details that the Mechaber says to make it allowed. First of all, it has to be aruche samita, shu keli. It has to be a bed frame, which is a keli. You need to say, if you would use something that is not a keli, then it could look like you're making a new post in your house, a new support beam. That could look like moisif ala binyan, like you're adding to the building on Shabbos. That wouldn't be allowed. Another thing he says, condition number 2 is loy kedei shetala. You can't push it up because then it's like you're building your house. It has a problem. It's falling. You're building it back up. That's not allowed. And number 3 is that it has to be loose and not tight. If you do it tight, the problem is that's called mevatel kli mehechana. You are nullifying a kli from what it was prepared for. And this is
what does it mean, loose and not tight? If something's falling down and you put something underneath it, the thing on top will exert pressure downwards. And if you take it away, the thing will fall down.
Right. So obviously this is not actually like falling literally, like crashing down. Because then, first of all, it'd be sakanas nefashos. You can do whatever you need to do. But second of all, yeah, then of course it would be tight. But obviously this is something that's sagging, and you're afraid that it's going to continue to sag and fall further. But at this moment, it's not actively, falling. You understand? So now you're putting this up, and you're putting it up, and it's still loose. I mean, in the course of Shabbos, maybe it will become tight because the thing's going to continue to sag further. But at this moment, it's not yet tight. See what I'm saying?
I think so.
You're basically putting it there to support it in case it continues to fall, at which point it would obviously become tight. Otherwise, it would really not be accomplishing anything.
So you've got to hope that your bed or whatever is almost exactly the right size.
Exactly. Well,
That's very unlikely.
Well, you could, like the 3 beds of Goldilocks, choose the one that fits.
Put it on a table.
Okay.
Or you should use something together with it. I don't know. Yeah.
Not being when it says you're not allowed to push it up, does that mean you're not allowed to let it go up even a centimeter as you're positioning it underneath?
Can't push it up. That's like fixing the roof.
I mean, we're not talking about pushing it all the way up, but if the bed is a little bit taller, okay,
Not allowed.
all right.
When a beam, I'm going to read the Alter Rebbe Chav Gimel. Koyrim et tikras habayis shenishbara. If a beam from the roof of the house broke, you're allowed to support it with a bench or bed frame, which are a kli. Not to make it go higher, because that would be considered building. But just so it shouldn't go further down. A thing is not a keli, even though it's prepared for moving. In other words, it's a non-muktzah thing. You have a 2x4. A 2x4 is normally a muktzah because it has no function. But this particular 2x4 has a function. You use it to not to beat your kids, but to I don't know, to scare away the birds. I don't know, whatever. A sukkah you can build on Shabbos. I'm talking about it has a function on Shabbos. That's muktzah. That's muktzah.
In my parents' house in Australia, we had exactly this. We had a window that kept falling down. So we used to keep a piece of wood by the window so that it would prop it up. And when we wanted to close the window, we'd take it away.
Right. Okay. So that wood would not be muktzah, but at the same time, putting it, because it doesn't look like a keli, putting it in a place that it's holding up the roof might appear like you're putting up a new post, a new pole on Shabbos. But it's like building. Unlike a keli, nobody leaves their bed frame as a bedpost. Like we explained before. Like we said in the Mechaber, it has to be somewhat loose under the beam. So that you could take it if you want. But if you put it there tight, in such a way you will not be able to take it from there. Also, it's also because he's nullifying a kli from its use. My friends, this is a concept that you should be aware of. Something called mevatel kli mehechana. You are not allowed to take a keli on Shabbos and ruin it from its use, make it impossible to use. And there are two reasons given for this in the poskim. One is that it's soiser, you're destroying the keli. Elchanan says, yes. And Joseph disappeared from the computer screen, so I assume he's on the way. Very good. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so some say that it's soiser because you're destroying the keli.
Yeah. When you have a bench, you cannot take the leg to put this to support the house. You cannot do that.
A bench, we just said, yeah.
No, but you take the leg from the bench, so you can feed.
Sorry?
You ruin the bench.
Can't ruin the bench anyway. Can't ruin the bench.
That's why you said not ruining a keli.
Can't ruin the bench because you can't ruin the bench. I'm talking about taking a bench, not ruining it, and putting it there tight. If you put it there tight in such a way that you're not able to take it out, obviously if you put it in at that moment, you could take it out, but you put it in tight and you know it's going to get tighter and tighter, you're not going to be able to take it out. So that's called bittul kli mehechane. You're ruining the kli from its use. And some say, I was saying that it's soiser, you're destroying the keli. And some say just the opposite, it's boina. You're building it into that spot because you're making it impossible to move from that spot. Yes.
The reason we put in the bench, so the house is not crushing your head.
Yep.
So if you put that, of course the house is going down to be tight in it, otherwise the house is falling down.
Okay.
So why we machmir at that point?
Okay. That doesn't make it mutter. That doesn't make it mutter.
Why from the tchila you mentioned we mentioned here the bench?
Obviously, it's a situation where it's not going to get that tight.
How do you know? When you put it, it's not tight, and the house is crushing down.
Okay. It seems like it's not going to get that tight. I don't know how you know, unless this is something that happens regularly. I don't know how you know.
Rabbi, it's very obvious. If you sit at the house, start to go down. If you don't put something, it will fall down.
Okay, so it's obviously a case where it's not that strong. It's not that heavy a thing. It's not such a heavy house. I don't know.
So maybe
Is it a problem when only?
if right now it's still tight, but later on the house, the city is going to fall down a little, so it's okay. It's not your fault.
Maybe that's the sword. Maybe if it's not doesn't happen immediately, maybe it's not considered like you did it, like it happened.
That was exactly what I was going to ask. It seems that you're putting it there so that it doesn't fall further. If it does fall further, then that's not something that you did. Is that the intention?
Could be. I'll tell him. He knows the code anyway.
But it doesn't work.
I'll tell him. She knows the code that works. He comes every day. He works here.
No, it doesn't work.
My friend.
He has the new code.
And new code, they don't change the new code. It's something wrong over there.
Okay, so the point is, oh, how are you? By the way, next Monday we're going to need you for the Binyan too. But you should come at 8 instead of at 10. Okay. Now, this halacha has relevance also in Dine Muktzah. In Siman Shin Ches, this is brought several times. You cannot make something a basis ledavar ha'asar on Shabbos because you are being mevatel it from what it was prepared for. In other words, let's say you have a leak, and the water that's coming through that leak is disgusting water, filthy, has no use. You cannot put a bowl underneath that water to catch it, because that bowl is now becoming muktzah.
You're not allowed to throw away the water from that bowl?
The water is muktzah. What's the heter?
Where the water coming from?
You're not allowed to, after you've, wherever leak's coming, let's say it's coming from the wall. So you fill up a bowl, and then you can put it down, you can't spill the water?
I mean, water that has no use is muktzah. Water that has too disgusting to use is muktzah.
Well, you clean
Now, there is a svara of graf shalrei, something that's so disgusting that it bothers you. You know what I mean? So you can remove it just so it shouldn't be an uncomfortable situation on Shabbos. But it is muktzah, except that you're allowed to move it for that moment. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, I can say that I'm going to use that water to clean the.
Can't clean the floor. We just discussed.
We cannot clean the floor. Just throw the water on the floor to clean it without touching it, anything. No mop.
I don't know.
So a towel. So how do you clean up a mess then?
How do you absorb a spill with a towel? Is that your question?
If there's a flood, if there's something that's
coming from the
Well,
roof.
a towel doesn't become muktzah from that absorb the water. A towel doesn't become muktzah. I mean, we discussed how to absorb
that
it.
towel for any purpose.
It's
It's full of dirty water.
You become schita after, or there's too much water coming from the
I mean,
roof.
there's other issues with absorbing spills. Like we said, you may squeeze it and may want to wash it. But
I think we're getting off the point.
Yeah.
What was that?
So that's another interesting halacha. Okay. Which is what the Mechaber discusses in Seif Ches. Safsel shenishmat echad meragla. Asur la'achzir lemkoymei la'niach oisit tzara shomot al safsel acher. Yesh mishamach mar lesser, ayin le'el siman shin ches. If a bench is made obviously of more or less 3 components. You have the top that you sit on, and you have 1 leg on each side. If one of the legs came off, you're not allowed to wedge it back into place. Even if you don't do it tight, we're afraid that you may do it tight. You understand? So therefore, you can't even put it loosely back into place. Now, what if you want to use the bench by propping it up against something else? You have one leg, and you rest it on top of another bench, or on a chair, or whatever. It would seem like it should be okay. Nevertheless, in Siman Shin Ches, we see that, here the Mechaber just brings down Yesh Misha Machmer, but it's basically the Trumas Hadeshen, which the Ramah brings in Siman Shin Ches and says that it's Asr, because you may be tempted to put the leg back. If you use it, and really it needs a leg to use it, you may be tempted to put it back. And this has relevance for broken glasses. If, before we discuss the broken glasses, let me just share with you some of the points for leniency that are brought in Siman Shin Ches between the Ramah and the Taz. Ramah says that if you used it that way before Shabbos even once, then you can continue using it in that way on Shabbos.
Use what, Rabbi?
To use the bench with the leg that came out by propping it up against another thing.
Oh, okay.
So once you use it once that way, you're showing that you're okay to use it that way. You're not going to run to fix it so fast.
Because it's sitting right there on the other leg, another bench.
Sitting on another bench. Now, you can't do it the first time on Shabbos because we're afraid you might actually fix it instead of doing that. But if you did it already before Shabbos even once, so then it's okay. That's hefter number one. Hefter number two, the Taz says that this is only if it slipped out of its place. But if it broke and it left behind the piece,
And you cannot fix it.
can't fix it, right? There's no way to fix it. So then you may as well use it by putting it on another bench because there's nothing else you can do. And finally, an even bigger chiddush, he says, even if the leg came off, but it's gone, you lost it. You can't fix it either. Also mutter. So now here,
Rabbi, can you tell your wife to tell her, take it away from me? I don't know what is it.
but she knows where it is.
She doesn't know how to fix. She is not handy.
I don't know. So the this has relevance for a pair of glasses, for example. We discussed yesterday that a pair of glasses, generally the arms of them are pretty tight. One of them comes off, so you want to use it without that arm. Based on this Mechaber and Ramah before in Shin Ches, it should be Asr. If it's the first time you're using it that way on Shabbos, because you may be tempted to actually fix it. Now, if it's something that you cannot fix, you simply don't know how, or you don't have the other leg or whatever it's called, so then there's makam lahatir. But if it's something you could fix and you have the piece and you're able to fix it, there's this. It would seem that it should be asur to do it for the first time on Shabbos.
I don't get the comparison. It should be similar to a table that loses one leg, and you can still use it without the leg. With only 3 legs, you can still use the table. Would that be no? Even if
You could still use this bench. What do you mean? You could still use the bench without the leg.
you're using something else to support.
So what's the difference? You can use it. You can use it. It's not the normal way, but you can use it. But no, we're concerned that it might bother you to use it in an abnormal way, and you might forget and fix it. So I'm saying the same thing here. You can still use the glasses without it, but it's not normal, so you may forget and want to fix it. If you use it at least once before Shabbos, again, you've shown that you don't really care to use it that way. That's one thing. But if you didn't, maybe it bothers you, and when you put it on, you won't like it, and you'll forget to fix it. Actually, your svara is the svara of those that argue in the Trumas Hadeshen, because in the source of the whole concept, it comes from a kira, shenishbata achas meragla, and in the case of the kira, it becomes impossible to use, and therefore they say it's muktzah because if you move it, you may be tempted to fix it. By the Safsal, they say, well, it's possible to use without the leg, so why are you concerned that he's going to fix it if he can use it without fixing it? But the Trumas Hadeshen says no, because it's not the normal way, so even though it's possible, we're concerned. So that's the same sort.
Rabbi, you allowed to put a bucket instead if the substance broke leg, or a bucket?
No,
Why?
because it's not about the bucket or
Bucket is
the.
not bonnet.
It's not about that. It's not about what you're using. It's about the bench. It's about the safsal that you might fix it.
No, I don't have the leg.
Or if you don't have the leg, yeah, why
I
not?
can use the bucket.
Yeah, why not?
So,
If it holds
so
it.
in the glasses, if he lost one handle for the one, he lost one day and you don't see it.
If you lost it, it's okay.
You can use in one only.
Yeah.
What happens if you have the case, but you need to work with screwdriver?
If you have the screwdriver, it's a problem.
You let the rabbi to do with the screwdriver.
No. You work from the synagogue. It's happened to me. I work in the synagogue and the glass, one piece came out. And I have the screw. I found it. So, but you need a screwdriver to fix it. But you don't have a screwdriver. But still count like you can fix it?
I don't think so. I'm just saying, based on the Taz says it's very situational. In other words, if you don't have the piece to fix it, he says it's okay. So it would seem that the same thing should apply if you don't have the keilim to fix it.
When we get to his house, it's not.
No, you're just saying you don't have the screwdriver at all. It's a very specialized screwdriver. It's a tiny screwdriver.
You don't have the screwdriver. I thought you have. That's why I said to the rabbi to do it. And you
No, you need to buy them. You can buy them in a regular store. It's like a specialty item.
He's walking home from shul, so can you take the screw?
Which screwdriver is this?
For the little screws in your glasses.
Precision toolkit.
Yeah, something like that.
So you're saying if we don't have the screwdriver, then you could use the glasses?
Yeah.
It would seem to me. I didn't see it.
Jackie Mason has a very funny sketch about how in Jewish houses, you look in their cutlery drawer, all their knives at the end are a bit bent because Jewish people use knives for screwdrivers. This must be why. On Shabbos, you need a shinoi, use a screwdriver, a knife.
I hear it.
Does that mean it's permitted to use a knife as a screwdriver on Shabbos l'chatchila if you need to do something?
Now why?
Because Jackie Mason said so.
I don't know.
The glasses, I mentioned about the screws, especially. You could do it between like this also. That's why it's so dumpy, right? Because you can tie it.
If you can fix it with your, then it's not allowed. Okay, I want to finish the Siman because I said we would. Test hatakea eitz be'eitz, a person who sticks in a person who sticks in a wood into a wood. Whether you connected it with a screw or just the two pieces of wood, you wedged it in tightly, and that could be a tolda of baina. So this is relevant in terms of, like we said, things with their handles and so on and so forth. Number Yud in the Mechaber. If a courtyard became ruined with rain, you're allowed to spread straw in the courtyard. This is what they used to do. It's not considered like you're adding to the building. As long as you do it in a different way. That you don't spread the straw, neither with the basket nor with the box, only with the bottom of the box. You turn it upside down, and you bring the straw on the bottom. And this is considered a shinui, but not with your hands.
I didn't understand you again, please.
Basically, what's happening here is as follows. You have a courtyard. And of course, in those days, it was dirt. And it rained a lot. And it's muddy and it's a mess. So you want to put something down to absorb it, make it walk, hold it together. So you want to put straw. Straw, kash, teven.
Okay.
So now earth, you would not be allowed. Because that would be actual moisef al-binyan. You're going to leave it there. It's going to dry soil. It's going to become part of the chatzar, and you're fixing the chatzar. By the way, if it would not be a chatzar that's ruined, you'd be allowed to put earth. if you had the earth designated from before. For example, a person spits on the floor in the olden days, can cover it with earth. That's okay, because there it's not like a ruined courtyard, so it's not like you're fixing it. But if it's a ruined courtyard, because it's all muddy, you would not be allowed to add earth, because that would be considered moisef for the binyan you're adding to the building. However, straw, which eventually is going to dry out, and you're going to take it back and you're going to feed it to your animals. So it's only a temporary addition, so you're allowed to do it. But because it looks like moisef for the binyan, you have to do it with the shinui. What's the shinui? Instead of carrying it in a box, or in a basket, or even in your hands, you turn the basket upside down and you put it on the bottom of the basket. It's a funny shinui. Why does he give that shinui? I don't know. But that's the shinui, just to show that you're making a shinui.
You put it on top of the bottom of the basket.
When you're carrying it to the courtyard, you bring it as you're carrying it to the courtyard, and you bring it in like an overturned basket.
Okay.
Oh. Now, what about if you got 50 people, everybody will speak, and you put your say.
A person who levels the ground surface of the house or a courtyard. For example, there was a little mound in the courtyard, and you kicked it over, you made it smooth. Or mile guma, there was a little hole, or guy, or a little valley, you filled it in. That's actual binyan midoraisa, very strict. We said before, when it comes to karka, when it comes to anything mechubel karka, we're very strict. So even a small hole filling up, even a small mountain, leveling it, toilet. We discussed that, whatever it is, depending on the opinions. Therefore, a courtyard that got ruined with rain, maybe teven reserva. You can bring straw and spread it out, because you're not going to leave the straw there. Because it's fit to feed the animals or to use it in cement. They used to mix it in. Therefore, it's not binyan. But you cannot spread something you would leave there because it looks like you're equalizing the floor. Because you're leaving it there, it's like a regular binyan. We say this only if it's a ruined courtyard. It's not going to because he's coming to fix it. As a keilim it looks like he's trying to make it smooth and equal. In other situations, you're allowed to put there even something in a leader, because that's not your intention to smoothen it. When you do spread it, don't spread it with the basket or with the box, only with the bottom of the box. Turn it upside down and put it on the bottom. Change from the usual way of doing it during the week. This is beyond, you cannot scatter the straw by hand. So it seems like you actually have to scatter it from the overturned basket. Understand? You bring it on the basket, and then you throw it off like that. You don't scatter it by the hand. You actually scatter it with the overturned basket, and that's your shinui.
When you shake it like that, it's coming down.
Exactly. All right, my friends, I wanted to go over that sheet that I sent out because there were some points in it. We'll have to start with that next week, and then Shin Yudalet and Mitzvah Shem.
And what is about the wine cup? And
Plenty of time. Plenty of time. Next week.
Until which Siman are we going?
Shin Chof Aleph. Mitzvah Shem.
That's the final. That's as far as we're going to go.
That's in this semester.
Right.
Mitzvah Shem.
Do I understand that the next volume is coming out in a matter of weeks or months?
Okay, good. But this volume anyway covers till there. What were you saying?
You don't have